Drummer for the Fab Four makes a stop in Jamestown today. Pete Best.
So I was aware of George, but John and Paul, no, that fateful meeting in August 1959 was the one that led to, becoming a Beatle a year afterwards.
What kind of music did you play? How'd you put your set together?
Very easy. It was cover numbers basically, even though they were writing material. At that stage we were playing Chuck Berry, Little Richard, the Fats Domino, Gene Vincent, Elvis Presley, you name it, Everly Brothers, Coasters, anything which was American, that's what we cut our teeth on basically. Princely sum that my mother paid them as the quarrymen, because they didn't have a drummer then, was £3. Yeah, which is about what? Nowadays $6 American or something like that. So I got a phone call August 1960 from Paul McCartney, and he said, Pete, we've had the offer to go to Hamburg from Alan Williams, and this is where Alan comes into the story, okay, even though we knew of Alan Williams, he was a character in Liverpool before that. And I turned around and said, I'll check it out with my own band and my own parents. Did that, and as a result of that, agreed to go to Hamburg, and that was the start of a whole new adventure. Yeah, if you think about it, when we went to Germany, we weren't the leather-clad image that most probably the world knows the Beatles today. We went out there, and in fact we had lilac stage jackets, black pants, grey winkle pickers. For those of you who don't know what a winkle picker is, it's a big pointed shoe like that. And very fashionable, and that was the first stage, right? Being in Hamburg, we found the leather was cheap, and being Gene Vincent fanatics as well, we suddenly found the leather was cheap, and we could, our stage gear had rotted by this time, sweated and fell apart. Leather was cheap, we could wear it on stage, wear it off stage, sleep in it, eating it, drinking it, do anything we wanted to do in it, right? And we went into the leathers, and then progressively from that, of course, when Brian Epstein signed us up, that was the stage when we changed gradually into suits. So Brian came along, and of course that was, now we're talking around about October 1961. The message basically turned around and said, Brian Epstein would like to see us in his offices. So we turned around and said, fine, we are the Beatles, we have to wait. So we went to our little watering hole, which was the Grapes, and we had our dinner, which was a couple of pints of brown mixed in a pie. And then off we staggered down to Brian Epstein's. And, when we got there, Brian basically turned around and talked around the subject, and then he said, know of you, and would be very, very interested in you managing the band. And it was a case of, okay, we'll go away and think about it. And we did, and we talked it over with our parents. They turned around and said, yes, seems a wise move. We had a vote. We looked at it, and we turned around and said, okay, he owns a record shop, got a lot of money, drives a big flash car, wears a pinstripe suit. That's the guy for us. So Brian was voted in, and he became the official manager.
Did you go from the Silver Beatles to the Beatles?
That happened very, very quickly. Okay, there were the Silver Beatles, different spellings, when they were in Scotland on that first particular tour. When I joined them on the way over to Germany, we had I suppose you could turn around and say, a conflab in the van, and we decided that silver was no longer required. We just wanted to be called the Beatles, and the poster turned around and said the Silver Beatles. We struck it out, right, and hence from that day on we were the Beatles. Then you saw the complete John, which was very much a case of, I think what the world saw was the John Lennon wanted to present to the world, which was very much, caustic-witted, hard-imaged, won't let anyone get too close to him. But I saw the other side of John, because we spent many, many nights propping the bars up in Hamburg. Okay. Yes, we propped them up good and proper, and I found that there was a very tender and a very loving side of John, which the world never saw at that time. And you take those two entities and you put it together, and that made the complete man for me. So John was my favourite.
Well, describe a little bit about George Harrison.
George, youngest in the band, And even though a lot of people turn around and say that I'm quiet, I would always turn around and say that George was the quieter member of the band, okay. But even from an early age, very much into his music, trying to improve his guitar techniques all the time, and contributed an awful lot, you know. And as the world knows, even though it was the Lennon-McCartney, you know, songwriting partnership, George wrote some great classics which are out there.
Paul McCartney.
PR man from the, I should imagine, the day he was born, you know, from when he came out the crib. But yeah, very much a PR man, great musician, great talent. Shown at an early age, and I think now, you know, his public relations and the way he deals with the media is one of Paul's very, you know, along with all his other multi-talented things that he does, it's one of Paul's fortes.
With the Beatles, 1960 to 62, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you sit here today in Jamestown, New York, that period of time, what did that mean to you? What's it mean to you today?
Important period of time. It was a learning period. You know, I mean, we were musicians, we were young musicians, we were put in a strange place. We were doing things and conquering boundaries and frontiers that, you know, no other band had achieved. So from that point of view, it was, you know, integral to your musical career. As regards to life experience, you know, Hamburg, don't have to say much more about that. It was the San Pauli area, the red light district of the world. You know, we were young lads, we were no angels, we enjoyed ourselves. So yeah, I mean, it was, you know, an integral part of your life, but a very important learning curve. Yeah.
But then it ends at one point. Describe how you're alerted that you're no longer part of the group.
Well, we played, this is August 1962, and we played the Cabin the night before. Brian came up to see me and he basically turned around and said, "Pete, I'd like to see you in the office in the morning." And as I mentioned before, Brian knew that I'd been in the business side of things, and since he'd taken over, you know, we'd had these little conflabs in the offices as regards, you know, should we go to that promoter, how much should we pay, is this venue good? And I just thought it was going to be another one of those because, you know, we got the recording contract and we were on our way and all the other bits and pieces with EMI. And I went in there, happy as Larry, and I could tell as soon as I walked in that Brian wasn't the same cool, calm Brian that, you know, the world saw and that we saw. Very agitated, and he talked around the subject for a while, and I just basically turned around and said, "Pete," he said, "I don't really know how to turn around and tell you this." He said, "But you're out, and Ringo will join the band on Saturday." And that was the bombshell, okay. You know, what's the reason for it? And he turned around and said, "Well, they feel that Ringo's a better drummer." And that has never held up water because, you know, everywhere I've played in the world, people have watched and basically turned around and said, "No, Pete, you know, you're a better drummer," so there must be an ulterior motive behind it. What that ulterior motive is and what the other reasons for the dismissal, I don't know. But that was something which happened in August 62.
Did you have any reason to stumble on to either George or John and ask why? Did they ever get any?
We played on the same bill about 2 or 3 times. I joined a band called Lee Curtis and the All Stars. And we were coming off stage and they were going on stage, and that most probably isn't the best place to try and, you know, resolve your differences. And then consequently, as a result of that, when you look at the history of the Beatles, you know, their first record, Love Me Do, went into the charts. That was the start of this phenomenal journey that they went on, you know, the icons of the music industry. And it was very much a case of it became more and more difficult to get in touch with them, you know, because of what they were doing and how they were traveling. And plus the fact that Nem's empire was growing. And if they didn't want to talk to you, it didn't matter who you were, you wouldn't get through.
Who was your idol growing up?
Idol growing up? Jane Russell. No, musical idol. I think initially Gene Krupa, person who got me infatuated with drums.
Ladies and gentlemen, I get to you, the man who brought the beat and the Beatles, Mr. Pete Burns!
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
You have a